LJ?
Yeah?
I really want to see the new recap review. Where can I go?
Well, I'll tell you, little Johnny. If you head on over to vessel.com/the TTV channel, you'll find all of our content, recap reviews, mock spotlights, and more, on Vessel a week early. That's right, a full 7 days before we release it on YouTube. Not only that, but content from tons of other creators all across the internet. In order to access it, you need to sign up for early access, which is only $3 a month. It's a really great deal, and it helps us create better, higher quality content that gets you guys in on the loop a whole week early.
Wow! I'm gonna go sign up right now!
You do that, little Johnny. You do that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, sync. Hey everybody, I'm Meso.
I'm SpiderMan.
I'm Kahi.
I'm Venom.
I'm Takuma.
I'm Takuma.
And welcome to TTV Talks.
Meso, your countdowns are so slow. They're so slow. You're going into like slow motion.
I noticed that he started out really bland and tried to put in some energy towards the end, but I just wasn't feeling it.
You count like you're trying to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. A 1, a 2, a 3.
Or like,
It's a Tootsie Pop.
Gross. And it's not called Tootsie.
Tootsie Roll Pop's amazing.
It is spelled like Tootsie, though.
Yeah, it is.
it is called Tootsie Pop, isn't it?
It's Tootsie Pop, yeah.
Tootsie, yes.
Actually, honestly, always thought it was Tootsie.
Tootsie. It's
Yeah,
a
Tootsie Pop.
No.
Alright, let's look this
You
up.
just say it. You just say it really fast, so it sounds like Tootsie, but it's still Tootsie.
It's basically a lollipop. Okay, well, never mind.
Well, it's a lollipop with gross chocolate in the middle.
Ew.
It's got a Tootsie Roll in the middle.
Ew.
It's pretty disgusting. Honestly,
No,
I
I
always
like
disliked
those.
them. I've always hated them.
I've always hated you.
I like them.
Well, I've always hated Batman v Superman. And speaking of that,
It's absolutely hilarious seeing how BVS is just, it's getting pulverized in terms of, like, critical reception. Like, there was the big
Just like
battle
my
of the
GPA.
year, BVS versus Civil... Oh.
ouch.
Yeah, it was the big battle of the year for comic book movies. Iron Man versus Captain America, Batman versus Superman, BVS versus Civil War. Who will win? And, like, it's not even a contest.
It's not even a war.
Yeah, it's like
It's not even civil.
a bully, like, kicking the weak guy on the playground,
Yeah,
like,
it's
repeatedly.
not
after
even
looking over his
about-
lunch
it's-
money.
Point, people are really only defending BVS out of like pity and denial.
Yeah, it's like, right, who's faster in a foot race? Usain Bolt or Stephen Hawking?
But well, you know, Stephen Hawking, you know, he's super.
He's really smart.
Fast at
He
thinking.
did the thing. He's really smart. He's way better than Usain Bolt. Like, okay, cool. That's not what we're asking. Did he beat him in the foot race though? I mean, he's really smart. He's like a scientist and stuff, I think.
Well, I mean, like, Usain Bolt makes all these jokes, and I don't like jokes. Who wants to, people just want jokes. They don't know deep stuff. They just want jokes.
Right. Did he win the foot race though? He makes jokes. I don't like him as much. Go on.
It's like, the DC fans, they've been really trying to, like, hardcore defend BVS, but it's really only the DC apologists who are doing, like, the Snyder Defense Force.
I go to DC Cinematic, like our DC Cinematic all the time, and read all the comments there, and it is just hilarious how much they really, really want to, like, defend their movie, and also can't deal with the fact that it really was bad in all these levels. And, like, you see all these people, like, try to make the dumb excuse, which is, like, they tried to argue what the character would do in a circumstance. We're like, oh, well, Superman had no choice because Zod is super powerful and he was knocking him in the buildings and Superman couldn't do anything.
Yes.
And you're like,
Come on.
Superman doesn't exist. Superman's not real. Zod isn't real. The writers wrote that. They're talking about how bad the movie is because the writers wrote that.
Plus, Batman vs Superman, when I walked out of that, I had a ferocious headache. And I had no idea why until I sat and watched Civil War and I was absolutely fine. I'm like, there's something up with that movie. It gives me like a massive headache.
walking out of BVS felt like walking out of a funeral. I looked around and everybody was just kind of depressed. Yeah, like everyone was quiet. I didn't hear anybody like make any comments. Meanwhile, I walk out of Civil War, I hear this dude behind me go, "Yeah, you know what? I think Black Panther is my favorite superhero now." And everyone's smiling.
Yeah, people were going crazy about Black Panther, dude. Whereas like I got out of BVS and the most excited reaction I heard was like that movie was kind of. Whatever, but like Batman was killing everybody. But like in Civil War, people are like, Black Panther's awesome, it's Spider-Man. Yeah.
But, yeah, no. Walking out of Civil War, everybody was happy and excited and such. Everyone was super hyped.
Oh, man, people, it left such on a high note when it's like the last thing you see is Spider-Man will return. And you're like, yes!
Yeah,
yes, he will!
I thought it was kind of lame.
The movie, every scene that Spider-Man was in, I got giddy. I was like, screaming from my seat. I was like, yeah! Spider-Man!
I forgot he was in the movie for a second. Like, the movie was so good, I forgot Spider-Man was going to show up. And...
Hold up. Before we say anything else, spoiler alert to Marvel's Captain America Civil War.
Forgot about that.
There will be plot discussion. There will be cameo discussion.
I'm assuming this is going to be in the title.
Element of discussion that we can realistically cram in. Yeah. And like there will be plot spoilers, so,
But yeah.
Tread carefully if you haven't seen the movie. Maybe you want to come back.
Spider-Man, though.
In other words, package for Mr. Stank.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so...
that was funny, but not one of Stan Lee's better cameos.
No.
But yeah, no, Spider-Man. I was really happy with how they did it.
Yeah, I liked this Spider-Man.
To be fair, he wasn't really needed in the movie. It was just he was really random.
Well, they needed they needed an extra +1 because Captain America's team was like had more numbers on them.
Yeah, it was like Tony just needed an extra guy, but even then, not really. But
no.
Yeah, that was whatever. But no, every scene Spider-Man was in, I was happy about. Everyone was clapping and cheering for him in my theater.
The crowd pop was massive for Spider-Man and AntMan both.
Oh man,
AntMan,
wisecracking.
I feel like he was kind of shoehorned in.
There were like so many parts.
He was.
There were many scenes in this movie that how when you're a kid and you go to like any superhero movie and then you go talk to your friends about it, and you're all like in a circle and like, yeah, no, that part when he like saves the chick on the train, like that was sick, right? Oh yeah, dude, my favorite part was when this movie has so many of those parts that you want to like,
yeah,
you want to just get all giddy about because Empire Strikes Back moment, huh? That was my favorite
when they're on
part.
the snow planet.
Yeah, that was good. How old is this kid?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't carbon date him. It was just so very satisfying.
Yeah, even the enemies, he was kind of like making crack jokes at them. Like he was cracking jokes at them. It was just like, wow, you have a metal arm? That's awesome. It was just like, I was thinking that too when I first saw him. Anyway.
One of the best things about Spider-Man that really struck me in this movie, because I've known this fact throughout the entirety, the promotion and knowing about Spider-Man going into this movie and stuff. It really hit me until I saw this movie. I'm older than Spider-Man. I'm officially older than Spider-Man. He's like, he does a thing where Tony Stark's there and he's talking like, oh, I failed my algebra test. And he's like, oh, I don't have my driver's license yet. And I'm like, I'm older than Spider-Man. I know I'm supposed to be, but like, until this moment, I've always looked up to Spider-Man as a kid, and this is the first moment I've been like, yes, I'm way older than Spider-Man should be. Spider-Man is now like almost 5-6 years younger than I am now.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
It is pretty crazy.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Got LJ locked up in the closet or something?
Yeah, right. Does someone want to tell us?
So, yeah, my
LJ,
favorite
he
part of
likes
the movie.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was great. The one scene that just kind of lit me up, like my eyes were open wide, and I was just like, "This is amazing! This is the coolest thing I've ever seen." It wasn't even like a cool scene. It was just after Ant-Man went all big and stuff, and they're all fighting. It's after they've all like started the big battle, and there was just a brief scene where you see like Falcon like fly past, and then like you see a War Machine chase after him, and you see like Spider-Man crawling up the back of Ant-Man, and it's like it's just Spider-Man like a spider crawling on the back of Ant-Man, who's in giant mode while people are flying by. There's other heroes in the background fighting. I was like, this is straight out of a comic book panel.
I know! This is legitimately a comic book fight where it's like all of these superheroes are fighting against all these other superheroes.
It was just something really weird about seeing Spider-Man like crawling like a spider up Ant-Man's back. That was just like, I never thought I would ever see something like that before, and I'm seeing it right now. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, I love it when they're all just like, standing together. It's like, I can't believe they got all these actors to stand in this one place. I can't believe it.
It's like all these actors are like in the costumes,
all these big names,
and all these huge names in media who are also only kind of huge because of his movies. Like Chris Evans and Chris Hemsworth and RDJ, they had a resurgence because of Marvel, and they're all standing in a row, and they're like they all have the costumes on, and they're running towards each other, and you're like, this is the stuff of comic books.
They're not stopping.
They're not stopping.
They're not stopping.
Neither are we.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was
masterful.
That was so rewarding.
That the airport scene was like the best thing ever in Marvel history, fight-wise.
No, listen,
I must agree.
this movie was the best thing ever in Marvel history.
This movie is the best Marvel movie.
This was the best
Easy.
Marvel movie for me. No holds barred. Like,
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, very close second. Other than that, it's easily better than any other Marvel movie for me. I love this movie.
It's definitely it and Winter Soldier at the top, and no other real competition. I agree with you there.
Well, like Guardians of the Galaxy is my third favorite, but that's such a different movie that it's kind of hard to like even compare it to that.
Yeah.
Well, Captain America is interesting because not only I feel it's the first trilogy I've really been invested in when each installment is better than the last one. Like, legitimately better. But it's interesting because each of the movies in this trilogy is a different movie. They're not in the same genre, almost. Like, they concern superheroes, but the first one is like a period piece set in World War II. The second one is a political thriller action, like an action thriller set in this political realm. And the third one's a character drama. They're all different movies at their core that happen to involve the same characters. And that's absolutely fascinating to me.
You're right.
This one is not a political thriller. Even though the subject matter is more political with the Accords, it's very much about the characters.
Yeah, it
and
still
that's
has
something that
politics.
sells it. It sells it so well for me.
See, the Russo brothers came out saying that this movie was going to be some sort of psychological thriller. And you know what? Going into this movie, I was like, what the heck is that supposed to mean? But I walk out and I'm like, I didn't really know who to root for, because at the end, nobody really wins.
No.
And that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah,
that's the whole point.
They don't want anyone to win because both sides have issues.
Yeah, and it was cool that
we'll address later, but
Yeah. And they gave everybody enough screen time so that you got to not only see them kick some major booty, but you also got to see like their side to the whole thing.
Yeah, you got to see their motivation. You got to see why.
AntMan.
Well,
he was just so shoehorned in.
AntMan and Hawkeye, I felt suffered from the same thing.
I feel like it's alright. I get Hawkeye because he's the one that made Scarlet Witch like be an Avenger. She was, he gave her the pep talk. He's like, if you step out the store, and I think that Hawkeye feels like.
Did you ever see Ant-Man?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I haven't seen it.
I still feel like he was shoehorned in.
I felt like Ant-Man was shoehorned in less than Spider-Man, because at least Ant-Man has proven himself in combat with an Avenger before, Spider-Man was kind of there.
Why is he... What is his personal stake in this? Other than, just, hey, I'm going to go fight alongside Captain America.
I guess that's true. Spider-Man's personal stake was to prove something.
Both Ant-Man and Spider-Man were brought in because, it was this whole point of, Black Widow and Black Panther too, kind of, but he had a vendetta, of course. But, they were brought in to have, wild cards. They were, that was the whole point of the talk. Falcon was like, I know a guy, and then Stark was like, I know a guy, and Black Widow, I know a guy. They're bringing in all these people to give them an advantage.
It is that Spider-Man is the wild card for Iron Man. Yeah. Well, when Spider-Man's, climbing on walls and stuff, Bucky and Falcon don't know how to deal with that. And he's shooting the web, he's able to dodge all the stuff, and he's super strong, and they're completely caught off guard.
Yeah, they're like,
by all
"What-
of that.
what
Right
is
to
that?"
remain
that?
silent.
Who is this guy shooting webs?
When you're
I don't
usually
know,
fighting,
gimmick.
there isn't this much talking.
There's so
Yeah.
much like great comic book homages that are in this movie.
Oh,
They're
the
really
speech
great.
at the funeral.
The speech at this funeral was great.
yeah, I caught
love
that.
they able to do it, and it wasn't so corny as it was in the comics because like it's at a funeral. You know, sometimes it's like it feels like that's the place that speech should be given. Ant-Man on the Arrow, that happened. I'm your conscience. Amazing scene.
I'm your
Loved
conscience.
every
It's
part of it.
hilarious.
That was so great.
We don't talk often.
Speaking.
Man to Spider. Man to Spider was a great moment that I don't think a lot of people really caught, but there's a scene in Civil War, the comic book series, where Spider-Man and Captain America are facing each other, and Spider-Man's like, well, Captain America can beat me in a man-to-man thing, but I'm gonna fight a man to Spider. And he, like, instead of doing, he webs away his shield, and then he does all the Spider Sense stuff, and he beats Captain America by using his power set, not by trying to grapple with him. So that was really cool.
He's just like, Iron Man told me to go for the legs.
They recreate the comic book cover with Iron Man and Captain America.
I saw that. That was
Oh,
really
that
cool.
was so cool.
I must have missed something.
It was when it's at the end though. It's not
That's
the
the
same
very
battle.
end. Yeah.
It's when Captain America and Iron Man are fighting, and Iron Man shoots the blast, and Captain America's blocking it with a shield, and it's like a slow frame.
Well, yeah, slow motion, and they frame it with like the.
I guess I haven't seen the comic book
concrete
cover.
blocks.
Straight out of the comic books.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
it's like the most recognizable comic book cover. I'll link it to you if you need to see it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah,
There you go.
it's
There you go.
very,
or somebody
very
else
well
could
done
do it and just,
interpretation.
completely pull the rug from under my feet. That's fine. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, you just started a war. You know that?
Oh yeah, that line wasn't in the movie.
Yeah, well, a lot of lines are never
Though,
in the
to be
movies.
fair, what was actually said in the movie was more threatening and intense than saying,
Oh, definitely.
you started a war.
Agreed. It's just like, especially with movies like Tony Stark, that I know the last time it happened and that big of a deal, there were like 2 or 3 lines in the Civil War trailers that were gone, but I remember in Iron Man 3, they like had entire lines by the Mandarin that just weren't in the movie
Yeah.
to trick people into thinking
Yeah, man.
like
I was really
Mandarin
looking
was a bigger
forward
part
to
of the
hearing
movie.
that your audio quality is poor.
Yeah!
They made a lot of references to old MCU movies too. There's talks Iron Man 3 in this one. There's references to like Ant-Man, to like all the previous films.
Of course, Captain America.
Yeah,
And then
Obviously,
Avengers,
Winter
no doubt.
Soldier.
obviously Winter Soldier. A lot of
It felt like
the
a
Incredible Hulk.
culmination.
The Incredible Hulk was like
Yeah.
Thunderbolt Ross
Yeah, of
is in
course,
this movie.
Ross.
That was great.
I feel like a lot of people are saying that Civil War is the beginning of Phase 3, and that makes sense because of, like, release schedules, but I think it makes more sense as the ending to Phase 2,
I think so too.
because it ties
Yeah.
up plot threads,
I believe so as
and
well.
it doesn't act like a beginning, it acts like an end.
Unfortunately, it definitely acts like an end. I was so sad. I was like, okay, by the end of the movie, I'm like, all right, guys, please just stop fighting. I want everybody to be happy.
Yeah,
Go-
you're like, stop
It's like,
it,
no,
and then
the
something
Avengers are
happens,
like
and you're
completely
like,
divided.
That was the thing too, because you actually feel for these characters, and these characters still respect each other. That was the thing that you never get in Batman v Superman. You never get
oh
Batman
yeah,
and
they were
Superman.
just trash
You
talking
don't
each
feel
other.
invested in their fight at all. You don't care about it because you don't care about Superman because Superman isn't Superman. You don't care about Batman because Batman isn't Batman. They're just like, you don't understand any of their
But the
motivations going
fighting
into
was
this movie.
cool, Kai.
All of it.
It just looked amazing.
The thing is,
I'm
the
really wanted to
difference.
see Batman and Superman fight.
The difference.
Kahi, you're just not understanding the deep psychological motivations behind Martha. You don't
Oh my
understand.
gosh.
No, I feel like the difference between Batman vs Superman and Civil War is like Batman vs Superman is like those two strangers that are arguing outside your house,
Right.
and you look outside and you're like, well, whatever, just watch because it's funny. And then Civil War's like your family arguing at the dinner table, and you're just
It's
sat
like a
there.
divorce.
But
Like
you're
your parents are getting
Civil
divorced. and
War
they're like,
is
all
kind
right,
of like that
we
awkward
get this
Thanksgiving
kid,
dinner.
You get that kid.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it really
Like,
is.
It really helps that the
fighting.
motivation for both characters were pretty sound in this as
Yeah.
well. Like that
Oh,
was
yeah.
the big difference between the movie and the comics is where like there wasn't a clear person who was right. Like in the comics, it was obvious, evident that Captain America was the side you should be on, and Iron Man was basically a villain.
So
Here,
that's what
Iron
I
Man was the antagonist, but he was definitely not the villain. In fact, I'm pretty sure most of us here are Team Iron Man.
I stand
going
for
out of the
Iron
movie.
Man after the ending.
Yeah. Okay.
Hashtag Iron Man.
Nope.
I was
I
Team
definitely-
Cap.
I was not Team Cap. I thought Cap was an idiot. This
I
movie.
thought Cap
I
was
thought he was
ignorant and.
Okay, here's the
kind
thing.
of
all he did was make the
morally
situation
wrong.
worse at basically every turn he had.
Here's the deal with Captain
Yeah.
America that like you have to realize, and as someone who's on Team Iron Man, Captain America in his head, still deep down, he's still like the skinny kid who's in the 1940s and he wants to fight Nazis. That's what he is. And he's the best friend. He's one friend that's stuck by him. Everybody else just doesn't deal with him. So he has one friend his entire life. That's Bucky. And now, even though he's like super buff and super steroid up and he has like, he knows how to do all this military stuff, he's still that like skinny kid. He's still like, he was like 4 years ago, he was in the 1940s trying to fight Nazis. So going back to, we see Captain America and all of this stuff right now, he's trying to make this all simple. He's trying to do all the stuff. He's trying to fight in this war because he doesn't really know any of the stuff that is relevant. He doesn't
Plus,
know
I
public
mean,
relations.
his friend
He
was
doesn't
getting
know-
framed for stuff like the whole movie
Right.
and getting chased down after. So, I mean,
Captain America
I
is
don't
not
think that's a
used
really
to, like,
dumb
the
motive
media.
to go out of his way and defend him.
No, I wouldn't say it's
the
a
thing
dumb
was,
motive. I just think it's.
he made the situation worse by constantly escalating it, though. Like, if he had just listened to everybody and just not gotten involved, everything would have been fine. Or at the very least, actually tried to sit people down and have a real discussion about it. But instead, his idea was to let's just go out and punch people and act on diplomacy myself, that kind of thing. It's
Right.
just like,
That is true.
he never
Well,
helped the
I don't see
situation.
that.
Also,
I see that.
to
I see it as very situational.
I do not.
To be
Basically,
fair,
I did,
though,
because the first thing that happens that like really starts the war, I guess, is that people start chasing after Bucky, which like Black Panther's already going after him. They sent a SWAT team after him, and so Cap is all like, "Oh shoot, I gotta find them. I gotta find him before they do because who knows what they're gonna do? They're probably gonna kill him."
Well, they were told to shoot
Not
on
probably.
sight.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were
that's what I
gonna
mean.
kill
It's
him.
like it's really situational. It's like why is Cap gonna go talk to the SWAT team? Like, hey
I mean,
guys, it's a
true. I mean,
misunderstanding.
That's one thing, and I think I feel like that plot point was a bit more of a leap just to kind of get that escalation going. But with that said, I don't know. Because like keep in mind that Cap also doesn't know whether Bucky actually did it or not either.
Yeah, that was my biggest problem with the entire movie. Like, Cap takes it on faith
Yeah,
that
he does.
Bucky
Yeah.
is his friend who is just able to be the Bucky he knows.
Yep.
But Cap does not know the extent of the brainwashing. The
No,
only
he
person who
doesn't.
knows is Zemo and Bucky himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for all he knows, Bucky will just be his normal self one moment, then the next second something will trigger in his head and he'll become a killer and start murdering everybody. He
Yeah.
is not safe
I feel like
to
they
be out
addressed
on
that.
the street.
I feel like they addressed that.
Well,
Yeah.
I
That,
mean,
whole-
dude,
that whole
because that's
scene where he's
Captain
like,
America's character.
"Are you? So which Bucky are you?"
Yeah, see, this
That,
is
What does
all.
Bucky
but
say in
that
response?
does
No, I
not
know,
work
but
though.
They could
That
trigger.
does not
you
address
could trigger
it.
back and forth. Yeah, I know. You guys are completely right. I'm devil's advocating it because no one else is here.
No,
except I
I was
Team
gonna
Cap.
say it's.
I'm just doing. Yeah, it's like that's Captain America's character. Captain America's character does not care. He doesn't think
That is true.
things through. He trusts Bucky because it's his friend. That's it. That's it. Captain America is that kind of simple person. He's a moral person. He believes that Bucky won't turn on him because Bucky is his friend, and he will. And even if he does, then
Which
he'll
is
deal with
silly
it
when he
it
has
comes
no
up.
proof whether
Really,
Bucky actually
really
did it or not,
stupid.
especially if Bucky was the Winter Soldier, and he has no clue how much control Bucky actually has over his own mind, which we can see in the movie. He doesn't have a lot of control over it. You just have to say a couple
Nope.
words and he goes into killer mode.
I feel like Cap
Exactly.
just he just needed to figure it out this whole movie. And that's why we see, like, at the end of it, he's in agreement with Bucky, where it's like, oh, yeah, no, I can't be in this world. It's a little too dangerous. Like, yep, yeah, I agree, dude. After all that,
That does
after
make
all that I
sense,
went
yeah.
through for you, yeah, let's freeze you.
Yeah, it's.
They
it's
should
Well, I
have
mean-
frozen to begin with. I don't know why they didn't do that.
Because there are two things.
Because there was uncertainty.
There was not.
They were gonna kill him.
There was uncertainty. The United Nations were escalating to deal with a terrorist threat, and they were going to kill him on sight. And additionally, nobody was willing to freeze him. The only reason that Black Panther is because Black Panther feels bad because he tried to kill Bucky and then realized that it wasn't him.
yeah.
That's why. They go to Wakanda. Wakanda is the people that freeze Bucky.
Yeah.
Then Wakandas have the technology that nobody else have. obviously, I guess the Soviets started in the 70s, so whatever. Fine. But
Yeah, both the situations really suck. Like, it's like Iron Man, you can understand Iron Man, what he's doing. Obviously, personally, I stand more with Iron Man, but I say that from an outsider's perspective. Like, if that was my best friend, I would have a hard time making the right decision. And so...
Well, yeah, this is the thing.
I mean, Iron Man even
admits
admits towards the end, like, oh yeah, Cap was right.
Yeah, but that was pure. It's not like anyone knew Cap was right. No one knew anyone framed Bucky. At that point in time, when Cap decided to break the law and go out and like help a fugitive who could have potentially been a terrorist, he had no clue whether Bucky actually did it or not.
Yeah.
He just did it.
It was on blind faith.
He did it so that he could figure it out. He didn't just do it because
he presumed he did it, which would make logical sense because Bucky's a guy who's been brainwashed, so he's basically being forced to do things against his will. The problem with that I had is, like, even if that's true, legally that may absolve Bucky of responsibility after a lengthy, like, trial or whatever, but he's not safe to be out in the world.
I was gonna say, he wasn't gonna get a trial.
He's not safe to be running.
Because
he was
going to be tried by Wakandan justice, and since Black Panther is the king and Black Panther wants to kill him, presumably that means Bucky's set to die.
Gonna get executed.
Yeah. So the interesting thing too is that, like, we all know about Bucky because we've seen Captain America: The First Avenger and we've seen Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Iron Man has never seen those movies. Iron Man, as far as he's concerned, Bucky is a random dude.
Yeah.
That's all he knows. Yeah. And then Captain America does all this, and then he turns out that this random dude also killed his parents. And they're like, "What? Are you kidding me with this?"
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying like Iron Man's side doesn't make sense because it totally does. And like that whole part where he's like, "You knew this whole time." That's when I was like, "Oh wow, that's crazy." Iron Man really didn't know any of this.
And the audience knew this whole time too. That's the thing that makes that like thing work so well, is that we, the audience, have known since 2014 that not the Winter Soldier, but Hydra killed Tony Stark's parents, and Captain America just never. It's
not much of a leap to figure that Winter Soldier did.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and
I
like,
didn't
so
think
we know that. Yeah.
But,
it's so good.
Yeah, I was wondering why they kept bringing that back. Like, I completely caught me off guard.
3 times during the movie.
The second I saw that car crash at the start of the movie, I instantly knew who that was, because they did that whole scene transition to Tony's parents and like super young Tony, and I was like, yeah, I already know where this is going.
I actually, like, I thought so. I thought it was at first, but then when Zemo kept doing it, I thought, oh, it might have been Zemo's parent. And I'm like, why don't they open it with him killing, Howard and Maria Stark? The reason why I didn't think it was them, honestly, is because, I don't know, in my head, I thought it was a plane crash. So I thought
me too.
Oh, yeah, me
killing
too.
him in a plane. Yeah.
Yeah, that's SpiderMan syndrome in your heads.
Yeah.
I guess so. I don't know why I thought plane crash. I always thought they died in a plane crash. And I guess there was in a car to the plane.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because I knew something had to happen because obviously we've seen the trailer, we know that they fight in a snowy landscape, so I was like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Like, what, everything is resolved, like, what could...
Here's what I thought.
The ending to Civil War, what Kahi's about to say, is my favorite part of the whole movie.
I thought, oh man, they're gonna do the Batman v Superman thing, and they're gonna go to the thing, they're gonna have a confrontation, Bucky's gonna do something, and then they're gonna fight, and then after they're done fighting, it's like, the super soldiers are loose, we're gonna team up, we're the Avengers again, we're gonna team up, and the common foe, and we go there, and all the Winter Soldiers have a bullet through their head, and you're like, oh.
It was great subversion.
It was so good. Mm-hmm. Zemo is a great villain to see.
I've been seeing people talk about how Zemo was wasted or whatever, another unmemorable Marvel villain, but I disagree.
I don't get that. Yeah, to me, he was the most memorable villain so far in a very long time. He actually did something.
Yeah.
He tore up the Avengers. He ripped the Avengers apart.
He didn't even need to step foot in the fight himself and managed to beat the Avengers.
He wasn't
like, how is that not incredible?
Yeah, he wasn't.
It's like he's just...
He wasn't like super strength, superhero, supervillain, like, in the beginning when they fights that super soldier, he was nothing like that. He was literally just a normal guy, but he was just super intelligent.
Yeah, and to me, that makes him so much more believable. He's just a dude. Villains in the real world are just dudes.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And and he's not a guy he doesn't build his own suit to fight on, take on Iron Man, Captain America. He doesn't do any of that stuff. He just manipulates them.
I love the quote he has at the end. He's like, I knew I could not kill them. Men more powerful than me have tried and failed. But if I could make them kill each other.
Now, there is a thing, though, that I was like, I was newly... Okay, me and Meso had this bet. I thought Captain America would die. Meso said he wouldn't. Okay? There's that point in the end where Martin Freeman's character, I forget who it is, and he's talking to him. He's like, "Oh, I think your plan failed."
Coulson replacement.
He's like, "How's it feel to know your plan failed spectacularly?"
Yeah.
Failed spectacularly.
and Zemo's like, "Did it?" And I'm like, oh, they're gonna Jessica Jones it. They're gonna Jessica Jones it. Zemo told Winter Soldier to kill Captain America after all of it was over. That's his plan this entire time. And I really thought that Winter Soldier were gonna get out of the car. Captain America, like, all right, goodbye, Bucky. We're gonna take a pistol and shoot Captain America in the face. And I was like, they're gonna do it, and they didn't do it.
That'd be terrifying.
That'd be pretty awesome. I'll be honest. That'd be a great way to end that movie.
Yeah.
That would have been a masterful way to end
that
it.
be if like the Winter Soldier is like he's coming out and you hear the words like homecoming, whatever, freight truck, everything, and he just pulls out the pistol and shoots Captain America.
That's right. They never explained those words.
They never did.
Why
but
words?
I will say,
Homecoming.
knowing that Homecoming has some kind of influence on Winter Soldier for some reason makes the title cooler for Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, honestly it does.
Just
Now
knowing
I'm
that word
thinking,
has some kind of relevance to the story.
I'm already seeing a bunch of
It's almost
crazy
as
like
if we couldn't
theories.
interpret that subtitle.
I'm already seeing a bunch of crazy theories on Reddit. Like, Spider-Man's
Trying to
parents
decipher
were
it.
like Hydra double agents who were like part of the Winter Soldier program or whatever.
You know who should be part of the Winter Soldier program? Norman Osborn.
Hey,
Oh, dude.
Hey.
Oh yeah, he's in this world now.
Yeah, no, everybody's in this world now. So, Spide's in this world now. Doc Ock is, Venom is, Flash Thompson, all these.
no, Venom's not because
Venom's
spin-off movies.
Let's get that
Yeah,
cleared up.
That's
spreading
stupid.
misinformation.
That's stupid. They're not going to do that. They're going to wait and see how the Spider-Man movie does. And if the Spider-Man movie is successful, then they'll be
They're
okay.
already in development
real, it's
of
gonna be
this
successful.
Venom movie
I mean,
and a
listen,
Venom franchise to follow suit.
I'm thinking Inhumans got pushed. Okay, Inhumans got pushed.
Is
There's
this
no
a
more
movie
Inhumans for
that I
this
didn't know
movie.
about?
Got pushed. The
Humans
audio
got
quality
pushed.
is
It's no longer
poor.
coming out. Like it's been delayed indefinitely. There's another movie filling that slot. We don't know what that is. We also know that recently Marvel and Fox came to a deal for the X-Men to get their own TV show. It's really odd. They would let the X-Men get their own TV show for nothing, right? What could they have? What kind of franchise could Fox have that
Don't
would
do
be
this, Kahi.
a movie
Don't do
that they would
this.
push Inhumans out for?
Don't do this.
Fantastic Four.
Don't set the stage.
Fantastic Four! Oh, I swear to God. I really hope so. I think they're waiting on Spider-Man to finalize the deal and announce that. Because if Spider-Man does well, then I think Fox will sign off and like, okay, we know our Fantastic Four movies suck. We'll just let you do it and we'll get part of that revenue.
Which I love the
I want
Fantastic
so
Four.
bad.
The Thing is one of my favorite all-time Marvel heroes.
Doctor Doom and Galactus are Avengers villains on an unparalleled level. If
Dr.
they
Doom,
nail,
yes.
if they make Doctor Doom, like if they nail Doctor Doom, like they have with every other character in the Marvel universe, basically, if they make him as a villain, like the character that he is in the comics, he will be the best villain, bar none, for Marvel.
You agree?
Easily going into like phase 4, everything. If you face off against Doctor Doom, he is a worthy villain. And Galactus too, like when Galactus comes, I don't know, phase 5, whatever. When Galactus
You
shows
say
up.
Galactus is of a larger scope than Thanos?
Yes, I do. Because Thanos is a character that uses things from the universe in order to control it. And Galactus, well, Thanos when he has the Infinity Gauntlet is more powerful than Galactus. But Galactus is a literal force of nature. And it's like, it's always been a huge thing where he comes to eat the world. It's been huge, and I want to see that happen on screen.
I
But
wish it
Thanos
was
does have a lot
portrayed
more
better
power
than
than Galactus once
Fantastic
he's there.
Four 2 Rise of the Silver Surfer, where he literally just
he
gets
just
destroyed
Oh,
in the
no.
like 5 minutes near the end of the movie.
Galactus is coming. It's like this big puff of smoke.
Guys, that was
Please.
my favorite movie.
Well, you have a poor taste in movie, I'm sorry.
Your taste in movies is poor.
Exactly. Poor.
No!
Alright.
Nitpicky stuff. Can we nitpick a little
Yeah,
stuff?
let's
No,
There are a few
nitpicking
things.
is so annoying.
There's a couple things.
There are a couple things. I thought a lot of the comedy in this movie was spot on. And a lot of the
Yes.
darker tones of this movie is also spot on. It's simultaneously some of the funniest moments and the darkest moments we've ever seen in a Marvel movie.
Oh,
there
yeah.
there are 2 points in time where the comedy, it cuts into the dramatic moments, and I think it ruins the dramatic moments. I'll talk about one, Var, you talk about the other, if you want to do that, alright?
Yeah, sure.
I'll talk about the first one. The first one is when Spider-Man shows up at the airport scene. It's very clearly there that Robert Downey Jr. is very emotional, kind of like, you're tearing this family apart, you're doing all this stuff, I need to stop you. It's interrupted by a comedic Spider-Man moment. And I feel that completely undermines the pacing of that scene.
I feel like that's Spider-Man's character, though.
No, not Spider-Man being funny. Robert Downey Jr. interrupts his dramatic thing, and it cuts back, and he's joking with Spider-Man, and then he cuts back, and he's super dramatic. I watched that scene again. It's very obvious. If you go and watch that movie again, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Maybe
I have a feeling if I go and see that movie again and I go to that scene, I'm not gonna give it.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it again tonight, so So I feel like there's that moment, and Var, this is never moment, but
yeah, for that moment didn't really affect me too much. I thought that was fine. The one where I did feel like the comedy like completely ruined a really touching moment was towards the end of the movie. After War Machine has been paralyzed, and you have like you have Tony helping War Machine, walk again, and they're doing that scene. Right. They're kind of like, and then he falls over, and
that bit.
That was a really sad scene. I was really into that scene. That was a powerful scene for me. I actually started having tears kind of swell up a bit.
That was really sad.
It was the most
Tears
powerful scene Rhodey's ever had in the Marvel universe. It made me actually like feel for him.
He falls over and he helps him back up, and he's like, no, don't help me. Like that. Whoa, okay. And then he helps him. They have like a little banter, and then War Machine's like, after all that, I've been on, I've had like 120 battles or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in so many.
And like, I'm just thinking, oh my God, he's gone to war so many times, and the one where he's actually been paralyzed was the one with his friends. He was fighting his friends. And he's like, after all that, I still wouldn't change my mind. The Accords was just the right thing to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. And then freaking knock on the door. Hey everybody, Stan Lee here for Tony Stank. Like, come on! You just ruined perhaps the most emotional scene I have had in a Marvel movie.
Yeah. Can we talk about that War Machine scene for a minute?
Did he ruin it, or did he just try to cheer you up because you were crying like a little baby? Wuss.
That was such a good scene, and I feel like they messed it up with that Stan Lee cameo.
Because
they could have picked another one.
That was the one time where it's like, okay, I was just instantly taken out of a moment that I felt like was really good. That was when I was like, wow, I'm watching a movie.
Right. That, with Rhodey especially, because Rhodey in Iron Man 2 he's all about, he's kind of like Captain America, where he's about doing the right thing, but he's grown up, instead of Captain America, where he grows up in the 40s, he grows up in the modern military age. And so now he's aware of all this stuff. He believes in what, he's a military guy, he's a colonel. And he does, when Iron Man proves that he's no longer fit, quote unquote, to be Iron Man, he takes the suit and he goes off and he becomes War Machine with the government. He works with the United States government all the time. He's doing all these, in Iron Man 3, he's Iron Patriot. They're doing all this stuff. So him at the end being like, no, it was the right decision and I wouldn't have changed that, was like such a powerful moment. And he's the one that legitimately lost the most out of this war.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Honestly, I thought he was gonna die.
He was paralyzed. He's like, that was the right thing to do, and I'd do it again.
I knew what was gonna happen to him, because we know that he's not gonna die because they showed it in the trailer, and that would be really silly. So yeah. I was thinking, okay, he's falling from a full height. He's gonna land on his back. Probably gonna break his back.
Yeah, that was a pretty heavy scene though, when they have
bit when Vision
Falcon
is
and Iron Man reaching out for him, and neither one make it, and you just see him crash into the ground. That was like, oh whoa, oh man.
We knew that was gonna happen. I was still shocked at that.
Because they didn't show that part. The way they filmed that, the way they showed both sides stopping fighting for a second to try and save this guy, and both failing. It's like this is what the war has done. It's
something of a metaphor.
Yeah, it's distracted you from what you should be doing, saving people.
But
neither one were able to save him.
It's so great because of these ideological differences. You expect a thing where it's like, when Batman v Superman, Batman's just blinded, and he's standing over Superman's chest, and he has the spear, and then Superman says his mom's name, and you're like, what? And then this one, as soon as someone's, is hurt, immediately Falcon and Iron Man go into a dive.
Yeah.
Like both sides, they're both fighting each other. They immediately drop everything. They both start spiraling right down to save Rhodey, and they can't. And you see that long shot where it's like they're both coming from the side, and he's just falling straight down. And you're like, I don't think they're able to
Yeah.
Yeah,
and like you mentioned Batman, and like it's nothing against Rhodey. He's not a bad character, but out of all the characters in the MCU, he's never particularly like had a like big, great emotional moment that really makes you like care about him. But this movie, he is much more. He, like you just said, Var, that one scene at the end had more weight to it than anything in Batman versus Superman.
For me,
pretty hilarious.
For me, on another level, this was like the War Machine and Falcon movie. Because, like, all the other ones, they get some scenes and they're introduced, but I don't feel like they're actually a whole big part of the story. This one, they're constantly there. It's not just like Age of Ultron, where they're there at the beginning and then there at the end.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
It was nice.
But here they were actually a point. They were there throughout and actually had an influence on the story, I felt.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really glad for, is that, they're kind of these side characters, but now I feel like they've gotten what they deserved as far as screen time.
There's so many moments that I keep going over in my head. Vision versus Scarlet Witch.
That was a great moment.
Oh, that was such a cool scene.
I love the Vision and Scarlet Witch just kind of being like together as like it's building up to that romance.
Yeah, they did a good job of that.
Yeah,
I love that. Like he's wearing the shirt. He's wearing like the 40s style stuff.
At the beginning, when he comes through the wall, he's just like, use the door.
That scared the crap out of me.
He's like, well, the door's open, so I assumed I could just, it's the same. I'll use the door.
And he's just like, can we order pizza? He's like, you don't want me to leave, do you? And he's like, under Stark's orders, please don't do this, Scarlet Witch, please.
He's like, oh man.
See, I kind of related to Vision more as, like, the more the movie came along, because he was just, the whole time he was like, please don't make me do this. Like, each time he was just like, he tried to reason with everybody. He's just like, hey, look, well, there's analytics behind all of this, and he does his whole vision-y thing where he goes into, like, poetic detail.
He does his vision-y thing.
Yeah, and then he's just kind of like, please don't make me hurt you. I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah, even in the airport scene, he was just trying to stop the fighting, because if he really let loose and did everything he could do, he'd kill everybody.
Right.
So his hands are tied with what he can do.
He was almost a non-factor during the airport fight until he hit War Machine.
Oh, he was.
Yeah, and the thing is, you see a scene, like, of him actually sitting down and he looks super guilty. Like, the reason I like that scene so much, it wasn't just Vision that caused the accident, it was also Falcon, because Falcon got out the way, but it kind of just, it shows that there was this, like, this whole thing.
Like, everybody is responsible for any casualties that happen.
And Vision is also, like, if you think about it, Vision is almost an older friend than Rhodey is. Because Jarvis was the butler. Edward Jarvis is the butler you see in Agent Carter, and is the Stark's family butler, presumably. And Tony had such an attachment to him that he creates, after he presumably dies, he creates an AI that's based off his, mannerisms.
That's true.
And so Jarvis being Vision is, like, him, like, Jarvis, like, kind of not killing a paralyzing War Machine is part of his whole thing where, like, Tony Stark's world is falling apart. Because Pepper's no longer in the picture. Pepper's gone.
Yeah.
That's the thing that was kind of glossed over. I really wish she was in this movie, because I do think she could have added some stuff to Tony. Yeah. But Pepper's just...
Nothing much was particularly missed on my part.
Me personally, I don't
Tony and Pepper's relationship is something I feel has been really built up, and throughout the MCU. And it's... I think that the movie
much
had
like
enough,
the Iron Man trilogy, their relationship was built up and then came crashing down in a disappointing end. But you know what? It's just how it goes.
I feel like Tony Stark's just too broken at this point. He's just like, you can tell in this movie, the first shot in this movie, he looks so much older, and obviously you can compare it to the younger Tony Stark. And his face is all gaunt and sunk, and you're like, man, this guy's been through
a lot of stuff's happened.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because I really like this new role he has in the universe,
And
where
that-
he's going to be like
that,
almost a mentor to Spider-Man.
Yeah, that
and
one.
then probably is going to get in a relationship with Aunt May.
Yeah, that
Ha.
one scene.
Freaking Aunt
I
May.
was
Aunt
May
May's so hot.
shocked me. I was like,
I was like, man, I remember like that was the moment I realized I'm older than Spider-Man too. He's like, man, Aunt May's trying to. Wait a second. Aunt
Wait a
May's
minute.
old?
Aunt May is hot? What am I
Like,
saying?
am I that old?
Oh my
what am I doing?
It's like when you compare Aunt May from Sam Raimi's version, and someone said it's
Yeah.
like,
I know,
it's
right?
like the Benjamin Butler effect, where they've just got younger.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
like the actress that plays Aunt May is like 50 years old, which
Yeah,
I'm
you
okay.
can tell
I'm like-
she's old, but she's
Yeah,
just,
I mean, like,
she's
older,
aged
She
but
well.
looks
she's
good
still,
for her age,
yeah.
though.
Yeah,
She's good
she's
for
aged
her age.
well.
But like, it's that thing where she's like, I mean, I'm like, man, if she's just 30 or 40, this is a little stretching it. But now 50 is like, that's the age I would say Aunt May's at, right? Peter's 15 and she's 50. That seems like a comic book age for me. But seeing that person on screen is like, wow, man.
you have color in your hair still.
I don't know why I was
I don't-
expecting a person who was age 50 to look like they were aged 80, but you really blew away my expectations.
I know, right? I always think Aunt May's like super old in the comics. I always like, oh, Aunt May's dying all the time. Like every time. like every Spider-Man story is like, oh man, I have
Gotta
a
save
cold
Aunt May.
and I have no money, and Aunt May's dying of like whatever. I didn't need her medicine. It's like every single issue she's dying, and now I'm like, oh, she's just kind of like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just like, leave Aunt May alone.
Oh man, that's costume.
I really bought
that's Spider-Man
Spider-Man as a young kid in this movie.
Yep.
Like, obviously they use much older actors in the other ones. Andrew Garfield, I mean, and this guy makes the Tobey
Hashtag
Maguire
rip
like
Andrew.
meh as well. It's like
Rip
Tobey
Andrew.
Maguire is just way too sensible.
I still say, like, Andrew Garfield, it's a shame what happened, but I think it's for the better now that we've seen Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly,
I'm all
Yeah.
for Tom Holland. He did a great job.
Like, I liked Andrew Garfield a lot. I like him better than Tobey Maguire. I also like Emma Stone better than Kristen Dunst. That being said,
Kristen Dunst.
yeah, terrible, terrible, terrible. This Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man I've ever seen. As someone who is a huge Spider-Man fan, I've read almost not his entire history, but like I've read all the stuff in the 60s. I've read all the stuff like I followed him throughout his entire career. This is the Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man in the flesh. I'm so glad we finally have him in the universe where Captain America's around, where
Oh, definitely.
Tony Stark's around, where Tony Stark can come mentor him, and he's gonna be a homecoming. I can't. I'm so excited for this.
I hope we get the Iron Spidey at some point.
I really do too. The
I mean,
Spider-Man
yeah.
costume is really nice. I'm glad they
Yes.
did that too. That like Spider-Man, he has his homemade outfit, and then Iron Man gives him the Spider-Man outfit.
Which makes more sense to me than, the part where he always, like, sews it together. It's like, okay,
Right.
he's a geeky nerd, computer
It
person.
always looks so
and he just
awesome. It's like,
suddenly
what
picks
the
up
heck?
sewing.
Did you go to design school or something? Like, how did you
Yeah.
make this look so cool?
The most,
Definitely.
like, I could see them doing something where, like, either Gwen or MJ is, like, a cosplay person. They're like, hey, I can make a costume for you.
That's so lame.
Cosplay
That-
person.
that-
It's 2010, guys. Or 2010. It's 2016. It's the 2010s. This is how kids are these days. That's how it happens.
Wow, did you just say the kids these days?
My
are
one
old.
thing
Listen, I'm in college. I'm nearly done with college. This kid's in high school. These are kids. It's like, this kid, he doesn't have his driver's license yet. He's like, I can't believe we're all older than
Algebra
Spider-Man.
test.
Man, Aunt May and Tony Stark are literally the same age. They could actually
Yeah, it's
date.
crazy. They
I
could,
know,
and they
it's like
probably will.
weird.
I guarantee
It's
it.
because, like in the comics,
Who needs
Aunt
Pepper?
May and, Jonah Jameson's dad marry. You know that?
I did not know that.
No.
That's a thing
When does that
happens.
happen?
And like, it happened, before, like, I don't know, before Superior Spider-Man, before that.
Oh, okay, so
yeah,
pretty
I
recent,
remember
huh?
that.
It was recently. Yeah, it's recently. And so, like, now they're, together. And, Aunt May and, the Jameson Sr. invest in Parker Industries, which Spider-Man now has. But yeah, it's like, so Aunt May nearly married Doc Ock once. That was weird.
Oh.
Yeah, that was nearly something that happened. So, like, there's, that's a whole thing where it's like, Aunt May has married people from the Marvel
The
Universe. in the past.
DC. We must make a truce
that
with DC.
That was really weird.
Marry.
Aunt-Man and Alfred were just like,
You can't do everything. You're not Superman.
Oh man.
Wow.
Oh,
No,
man.
Civil War.
Imagining
Great
her
movie.
kissing Tony Stark.
Ah.
Anyway, Civil War is great. Really good movie.
Yeah, that's
We could
pretty
go on
much
and on
it
about
is.
this for another hour.
Yeah.
We could,
but
pretty much.
we need to wrap it up.
Favorite
In
movie.
summary.
Loved it. Oh my.
Yeah,
wow, it's
like-
an hour already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why, Kai touched upon it earlier. Civil War is my favorite movie because although Winter Soldier was a smaller and more focused story, Civil War worked on two fronts for me because it manages to juggle all of those characters without coming off as cluttered or crowded and not doing any of them justice. Even the ones that didn't have a moral stake and being there were still done right, and they were in character and they were given their due, basically. And the
Except
plot
Ant-Man.
was not contrived. Ant-Man was perfectly fine.
Shush.
And the other reason why I really like it is because it simultaneously is the most serious Marvel movie while also maintaining some of the most comedic moments. I think some of the most genuine, laugh-out-loud, hilarious jokes.
Remember that
Very
little
few
car?
jokes didn't
The
land.
car
Oh, the
with
car.
Falcon
That's
and,
such a
and
great
Winter
scene.
Soldier. That was so funny.
There's no
Yeah.
dialogue. It's
Yes.
just the actors acting
Yes.
that makes you like this. That's hilarious.
Well, there's
Yeah.
a bit
It's
of dialogue.
purely their acting.
I love the scene with when Ant-Man grows really big and Iron Man's just like, but anyone with crazy powers, please say they have
Yeah,
them.
it's like, hey, anyone has like a really cool
Yeah,
stuff.
these
to
crazy
say?
abilities.
Just flew through me.
So many awesome moments, and it's like it's also the deepest, the darkest.
Yeah.
This movie
like,
manages
a
to
common-
balance out like 12 characters to make a great movie. Batman v Superman couldn't even get Batman and Superman right. It's too many
Yep.
people in the movie. Couldn't get them right. This movie gets 12 characters right. They're all in
Yeah.
character. They're all good. They're all acting against each other. They're all on the right side for their character. It
Yeah.
makes
They're all getting
sense.
screen time.
Even though I've never subscribed to that, DC fan, mentality where they're like, Marvel sucks because it's non-stop comedy and, nothing's ever serious. I never really subscribed to that all the way, but there have been a couple of movies where I have felt along the way that the comedy took away from
You
the
feel like that
actual
for
story
Avengers,
they were
right?
trying to tell. I definitely feel that way
too.
for Avengers and for Iron Man 3 and Thor 2 to a degree as well. They had similar, tone shifts, but definitely Avengers. Avengers is, the worst offender. This movie is, Avengers is a classic for what it did right, and it's really reassuring to me that, the Marvel movies, they seem to be on an upward slope. Everything that's coming out nowadays is, better than what had come before. This is the best Avengers movie, and it's not even an Avengers movie.
It's
You
just
know?
the best, yeah. The Russo
It's a
brothers,
Captain America movie.
they struck gold by finding the Russo brothers. The Russo
Yeah,
brothers
seriously.
really... They are
They
the
know what they're
greatest
doing.
directors I've ever seen for a superhero movie. They know what they're doing. They get the characters. The scripts are the best scripts I've ever seen in a superhero movie. The action is the best action I've ever seen in a superhero movie. The actors are the best. With all of these, the two directors, maybe having two directors helps, but the Russo brothers are the greatest find from Marvel. And they knew what they were doing by putting him on a Infinity War 1 and 2. Because
Yeah.
both Winter Soldier and Civil War, Winter Soldier was great, but it was a thing where I'm like, maybe they can only do a few amount of characters. Maybe balancing all these characters might not be their forte. They did
Nope.
it spectacularly. So,
Yep.
I'm excited to see Infinity War.
I have
With all
so
of
much
the-
more
all the
faith in
new
them
characters.
than I did Zack Snyder. It's amazing how different it is.
Beyond,
Yeah.
Zack Snyder's
negative
been
faith
digging
in Zack
himself
Snyder.
such a hole lately. I know we don't want to get into it.
Zack Snyder's
That guy's a
I feel like
jerk
Zack
and
Snyder
an
could
idiot.
ruin anything. He could just ruin anything.
Without
Who's
going
Zack
into too many
Snyder?
details, because we're on a time constraint. He's the BVS director.
Okay.
Yeah,
There were recently some quotes of his interviews that were a little,
they were a little
to put it
stupid
mildly, a
and
little
ignorant and
unsettling.
arrogant, to say
Yeah,
the least.
to put
So,
it-
yeah, it's like,
so the court of public opinion has not been kind to him lately, for it's well deserved. Meanwhile,
yeah.
there's,
Zack
no
Snyder-
there's not enough raunchiness and violence in this comic book.
He
This comics
basically
are for me.
confirmed that all he cares about is making spectacle out of dark undertones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Murder and pillaging,
Other stuff.
destruction. I won't mention the other thing because it's inappropriate, but he's into that kind of thing. So
Yeah, basically.
that guy's
It's not
a
even
freak,
about
man.
the characters, it's just about
No,
the...
Not,
And the thing is, Zack Snyder does not appreciate the comics.
Yeah,
The
no.
Russo brothers appreciate the characters. Kevin Feige appreciates the characters, the comics. That was his whole thing. In his interview, he was like, he worked on all the older Marvel films, like the original Spider-Man, original X-Men. He was like, they don't appreciate the comics, and that's why all these movies are failing. If you just pay attention to the source material, if you just stay true to these characters, the movies will be way better. And look where Marvel is now.
Yeah,
I was
really.
gonna say,
On
he's head of
top
the company.
and
I hope he's
kicking
into
everyone down.
Marvel. That'd be a bit
Yeah, one would
concerning.
help.
Well, I mean,
But
like, the other
Zack
guy...
Snyder's directing the Justice League, so I'd hope he's into DC, but he's not.
Nope.
Oh, well,
Gonna have
DC.
to want to kill Superman, so Batman can put together the Justice League because it's more
I
interesting.
kind of just want to have a whole episode where we're just comparing the two.
We'll do that in
They're
the future,
so
maybe.
different.
But for now,
We'll
that's
while we do it when they're
pretty
both
much all.
out on like DVD, we'll both
Final
watch them
thoughts.
in sync.
Anybody that wants to gush? Anything left to say?
No.
Loved it.
Nah,
Infinity
not
War
really.
hype. Hashtag.
I know,
Not even,
right?
no, it's like a different movie. It's Infinity War. They're renaming it. Not Infinity
Yeah.
War, but like...
Well, next up, we have to look forward to Doctor
Doctor
Strange in November, and
Strange.
then 3
Oh my
Marvel
gosh.
movies every year for the next 3 years. 3 a year. It's crazy.
I'm glad that all these movies are now totally different. I'm glad that Thor Ragnarok is going to be like this fantasy romp, and then like Doctor Strange is like, I don't even know, Inception-y with magic. And then Spider-Man's like a John Hughes teenager high school movie, and then Guardians 2
crazy.
is going to be Guardians 2, space opera comedy.
Yeah, and then maybe Thor Ragnarok can redeem the failure of Thor 2.
I
We'll
think so.
see.
I think they're not going back to Earth. Natalie Portman isn't in it. Yay.
And nothing of
Hulk,
value
yes.
was lost.
Hulk is in it. Sif is there.
That really
Oh my God.
annoying American friend she has.
Darcy.
She is so
I
annoying.
like Darcy.
Oh,
like
she
her.
It's hilarious
I think
because I
Darcy's
really
alright.
liked their dynamic, all of them, in Thor 1. I don't know what happened in Thor 2 to make them so unlikable, but whatever
Different
happened
directors.
ruined it. Yeah, different directors, maybe. So either way, that's all for now. TTV talks about Civil War. Great movie. If you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you? Go see it.
If you haven't seen it, why are you watching this?
I don't know. People do strange things, like Zack Snyder. But anyway,
People
we
do
will,
stupid things like Zack Snyder.
pretty much, we will see you all, next time for the next exciting episode of TTV Talks. And be sure to check us out on Vessel at vessel.com/TTV channel for 1 week early access to all of our content. Thanks for watching. I'm Meso.
I'm Verderan.
I'm Kahi.
I'm Venom.
I'm Viper.
And I'm Takuma Nuva.
And farewell, everybody.
Table of one for Mr. Stank.
Bye.